All
Okay,
right,
hey guys. Go ahead, Cindy.
she's a mess. Anyway, all right, guys, we have one good / quick topic for us to talk about. How about I set my timer? We want to talk women's reproductive rights.
Yeah.
If you want to start us.
Do I? I don't know. I mean, it's so funny. One of the things that Kamala became a little famous for is when she said, "Do you know of any laws which govern what the male can do with their body?" And what was it? Brett Kavanaugh. He was like, I
Yeah.
can't think of any
It's
right
like,
now.
what?
But I'm like, I wonder if he came up with any like recently. Like
He's still thinking about that question.
he said, I can't think of any. And I can't think of any either. So when we talk about women's reproductive rights, it's not just the abortion topic. It's not just, okay, all these women want to go and have abortions until the 50th week. But we're also talking about having access to certain types of healthcare, having IVF treatments, having birth control, having the ability to have, if you're having a miscarriage, having access to the misoprostol, I think that's what it's called. And so when we talk about that, and we're gonna share a funny story too, but when we talk about that, I shut up. We talk about all of those things when it comes to women and having babies and having control over when and how they have children. So what happened, of course, Roe v. Wade was overturned after it was the law of the land since 1973. It was overturned, and it caused a series of what it did was basically bring it back to the states. So the states can decide whether or not a woman can have access to abortion or certain types of medical care when it relates to babies. And that set off a big chain of events. So all these states started enacting laws and changing laws. And now you see a lot of that is on the ballot, right? You see a lot of states like Kentucky, Minnesota, Florida, even. Of course, Florida, it's on the ballot whether or not you want these measures to be enshrined into the state constitution. The problem, and I'm not going to be long-winded, but the problem with having it with the states, it's almost like taking away Brown versus Board v. Education. They can decide their own rules. Like, okay, yeah, we want the abortion to be legal here, but not here. And that takes away women's rights that live there, that may have voted against not having abortion being outlawed, but now they're stuck with living in the state where it is because maybe the majority ruled for the minority. So that's a big problem right now. So, and I'll say, like I said, it's not just the abortion. It's IVF care. It's people having babies or having trouble that have trouble conceiving the normal or natural way. They need to have their babies done in a lab. And there's also women that have that are miscarrying. I mean, I've had a miscarriage, and the amount of blood that is associated with a miscarriage, you want it to stop in any way possible. And not having access to that care, or not having access to the same drug that'll expel your baby if you were having an abortion, can kill you. I mean, I lost a lot of blood. I had a horrible time during that time, and it's not nice. So the misoprostol, it helps to expel the baby nice in a nice, clean manner. And they're saying that women shouldn't have access to that either. So I think that's a big topic and a big talking point. I mean, what do you think, Cindy?
I think it created this opportunistic way. Like I think they found a wedge issue. I don't think they really care about abortion, about women not having babies. I think they created an issue that their base wanted. Everything is about what the base wants. So people that pretend to be pro-life are the ones they're going to try to have this issue be with. But those people, like myself, I was a person that was pro-life. And I'm not saying I'm not pro-life now. Like I am still pro-life, but I'm now pro-choice because I believe God is pro-choice because he let you do a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing that are what we would have called Christianity a sin. So if he let you do those things, well, we're going to stop at you. This is suddenly the thing, the worst thing you could do when there's people having adultery, lying, cheating, stealing, murder. All those things are wrong. So it
Yeah.
just falls in that category. But the main thing that made me change from it was that it's a personal choice. I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So if you feel you want to do it and you found somebody that wants to do it for you, adelante. And you have to deal with that on your own, you know. I think that they didn't care. They found an issue that will make their supporters support them regardless of whatever else they do. Because if you say to a Christian, but he's a racist and he steals and he got felony, they'll say, well, you're supporting somebody with abortion, you know, that believes in abortion. That's their one issue, other than the guns, that they will not bend on. That is one of their issues. And I know that the Republicans who are taking advantage of that know that. So they're going to hold on to that issue. But I also think that it was an oversight because, like you said, it has a spiraling effect that it can't, it's not just, can she have an abortion if she wants to come in and have an abortion? And let's get it clear, not having an abortion after the baby. They keep saying
Oh
that. And I'm
God.
like, oh my God,
You
even when I was
mean
pro-life, I knew that wasn't a thing.
like
That's
after the
not,
baby is born, they're saying that you have
yeah,
an abortion then. Like
boom, here's your
basically
baby. I
murder
don't want it.
it. Throw it out with the bathwater. Like,
Yeah,
no,
that's what
that's
adoption
not a
is
thing.
for.
That is
It's
not a
not a
thing.
thing. It's
And
not a thing. You sound like a complete idiot. So the
but
Christian, you know, the pro-lifers sound like idiots saying that, but it's a
well,
wedge issue.
what they're saying with that is there's times where a woman has a baby and they have to decide, who do we save? Do we save the mother? Is the mother more I don't want to say more valuable, is the mother more viable than the baby? And so that's where that decision of, okay, we're going to work on the mother instead of the baby after the
That's
baby
not
is
an
born.
abortion.
That's not an
An
abortion. That's
abortion is a surgical procedure
right.
to not be pregnant anymore.
Yeah, to remove the embryo or the fetus. And I mean, there's a lot of people that feel that, you know, it's definitely wrong. It's against God. It's murder. There's a lot of people that feel that way. And if you feel that way, and if you believe in that God that says that it's wrong, then you should never have an abortion. If you
Right.
don't feel that way,
You should.
right, that's a, you should never. But if you don't feel that way, then you should have the option. Like you said, you brought up a good point. There's a lot of things that's against Christianity and against God that we do on a daily basis. I mean, I'm a cursor. I've been a fornicator, an adulterer, like all of these things. And that's, you know, that's not a bigger sin than having an abortion. And I've
I'm
always
sorry,
been,
Tiff, 1 second. Literally, the person you're voting for is a felon and a convicted of sexual battery or whatever the term is you want to use, sexual,
yeah,
some kind of conduct. Literally,
yeah.
that's who you're voting for. But there's
Yeah.
that abortion.
But look, so let's talk about the candidates since you brought them up, because both candidates are actually pro-choice. Trump has never said that he was, even though he put I think he's kind of like, he tries to appease to the people that will get him in, but I don't think he is at his core, and he said it a few times, he's not a pro life person. Like he's like he believes in the exceptions. He talks about Ronald Reagan. He believes in for the life of the mother, which is what the example that we talked about, which, you know, if what, who's more viable. Also, when it comes to well, that's one of the examples. If there's incest or rape, like you should not be made to carry that baby to term. And although I'm pro-choice,
Yeah.
I don't believe that after 16 weeks that you should be allowed to have an abortion because of the baby being, my nieces were born at 20 something weeks and they are 12, 11, 12. Don't ask me.
Yeah.
The twins who were born at like a pound at 20 something weeks, and
Yeah, 28
they
weeks is
were.
7 months. Like,
Yeah, like so I don't believe after the 16 to 20 mark period that you should be having an abortion. Like by that time, you should have decided what you wanted to do. You should know you were pregnant. You should know, you know, what your decision would or should be at that point. But so I'm pro-choice up to a certain limit, which is a lot of people's stance. They want
that
limits.
was Roe. Roe was up to a certain point. You just can't go walking in there at 9 months and say, I can't afford this anymore, so let me get rid of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, in different places had different rules as well for when it came to that. Like I remember, like I'll say this: I've had children, I've had miscarriage, and I've had abortion. So I had the whole gamut of the reproductive thing,
Yeah.
and there were facilities that I feel like I remember seeing that would do an abortion up to 24 weeks. I think I don't quote me on that, but I remember it being like 26 to 24 weeks. That's 6 months. And I mean, that's really a fully formed baby. It's no longer an embryo, like just a little egg with the blood, or it's a fully formed human at that point. So I mean, and it's a decision that you have to make for yourself. And like we said, when we talk about the candidates, they're both pro-choice. And if you're pro-choice just a little bit in certain circumstances, then you're pro-choice. Like Trump could say, I'm pro-choice for the life of the mother. And so then that means you don't believe that it's murder. That means that there's
one thing he did say, somebody asked him, a reporter asked him, they just replayed it recently, should there be punishment for the woman that has an abortion? He said yes.
Ooh. Okay. So, and that's problematic, of course, because then whoever the person was that got her pregnant should have that same punishment. I don't know. I really don't know. Like you punish one part because it takes someone to make that baby, right? It takes a male. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And
she
then
didn't steal any sperm, put it in her body, and then say, "Ooh, I don't want this."
Yeah, like how do you, and then it gets into the weeds of how do you regulate that? Are we going to go back to the dark ages where women are still going to have abortions or travel for abortions or have unsafe abortions or have people doing it in their houses? Or it's just it just gets into the weeds of it. And the reason Roe v. Wade was passed is because they wanted women to have access to safe. It's not that they weren't having abortions before 1973. It's just they were not safe and women were dying, and they wanted a some place for them to be able, or the law to match what was happening so that they would have the safety of it. So
I wanted to catch something you said about the travel. Now, they're trying to do the travel, like to track if you are pregnant, if you are marked down, somebody squeal on you and say you were pregnant, they're trying to monitor your travel to make sure you're not going to a state that allows abortions.
Yeah.
And I also, one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking earlier, I was like, is this kind of a violation of the 14th Amendment? Because equal protection under the law means that I'm in New York, you're in Florida, your state is more likely to ban or have some sort of a ban or stretch ban on it farther than whatever. And so we're not equally protected under the law. Like,
right.
we both don't have the same right to life, liberty, and pursuit of our happiness. We don't both have that, because I can do what I want here. Hochul is going to pass it. I think she probably already did. Your governor is probably like, nah. So that's not equal protection. That's not equal protection. Like, it's not the 14th Amendment anymore. And so when he says, I want to give it over to the states, he knows that, I don't know if people know this, but out of the 50 states, wow, it's like 30 or 40 or 30 maybe at least are Republican states. It's more Republican states than Democrat states. It really is. The whole Midwest, like if you start the line, it's the whole thing. We just have more population within like California, New York and stuff where you get the high vote count, but it's more states that are Republican.
But what's fascinating to me is that even in those red states, the quote unquote red states, the abortion and reproductive, because I hate to keep saying reproductive abortion, it's reproductive freedom and rights. Those are being enshrined into the state's constitutions at a high level. Like you would have never guessed, but people want, like, I should not have my daughter have her rapist or her stepfather's baby. Like there should not be a situation. And then let's say she does and we want to get rid of it, or we don't have the resources to take care of it for whatever reason, then where are the resources for that? Like there's never a full plan for keep the baby and this is what we will do, what you'll have. So it's amazing.
They just did the study, I think yesterday or whatever, saying that hundreds, I don't know if it's thousands, but I know it's hundreds of women are being turned away when the pregnancy is no longer viable. So doctors are scared to perform just
Yep.
regular procedures. So you go in like, I know somebody personally, I won't share their own story, that's their story, but they had a baby. And I think at like 5 months or whatever, the baby wasn't viable. So if you live in a state where that's it's illegal to have what they call an abortion, that baby is going to roast in you until it decides to come out. And
Yeah.
then there's plenty of people that are now infertile because they had to carry out this birth of a
Yep.
baby that wasn't viable, because the baby is basically rotting inside you. If it's dead, it's not, it's just something really gross and disgusting. And
Yeah.
normally the doctor would say, this is not a viable pregnancy. We need to just take it out real quick,
Yep.
start you all over, and then you can
Yep.
heal, and then you can get pregnant again. But there's plenty of people that are now infertile because they were turned away.
And just imagine a lot of these pregnancies with in your example that you're talking about, these are babies that are wanted. They're not babies that were supposed to be aborted or anything like that. It's just now I mean, like I said, I've had a miscarriage before. So now I'm walking around with a baby that's deceased inside my stomach, walking around for days, weeks with this baby until it decides to actually be birthed, or until my body actually births it. So that's ridiculous that we would have to subject someone to that. And especially, like I said, for a baby that's wanted or desired. You have women out there that have waited years to get pregnant. They get pregnant and by some chance they have a miscarriage, or the baby's no longer viable, and now I'm expected to have the emotional and mental trauma of walking around with this child that's no longer viable or no longer living in my body.
Imagine a 12-year-old having to go through something like that, a 13-year-old. And I know they point to a lot of times incest, rape, things like that, but then just kids that are wayward. There's plenty of girls that are trafficked, which we did those episodes on trafficking, who wind up pregnant. And they are trafficked. They are victims of some sort of real long-term, over and over again abuse. And now on top of that, you're going to force them to have a baby that they didn't deserve, want, ask for, anything.
I'll say, my husband and I, we talked about this before. We talked about the fact of, if let's say you become pregnant and you're married, you are raped, you become pregnant. That man, your husband, is financially responsible for that baby, for the rapist baby. And in a lot of ways, it just seems so unfair to like all parties involved to not have that choice. And so that's why when we talk about the freedom of decision, the freedom of choice, that's what it is. And like I said, neither candidate is fully pro-life. Neither candidate, not Kamala or Trump, neither one of them.
She said an abortion ban, she's going to sign it immediately. And he says that he won't sign. What did I say? An abortion? Not her. She said if there's an abortion protection, reproductive rights protection law that comes to her office, she's going to sign it immediately. He said he's not interested in an abortion ban, like a national one. And his VP said the same thing. But his VP is constantly coming out against women. She's a cat lady. She doesn't have any children. They attack on children, attack on children, attack on children. So how are we supposed to believe you? By the way, he was a Democrat for many, many years and donated to Kamala's campaign back in whatever year it was. He donated actually to her campaign. So he's not a true Republican. So who knows what he is? He's just he's just whatever it is for the day.
That's what I said in the beginning. I think Trump he sides with whoever is siding with him for the moment. It's like like wherever the wind is blowing, because
but his VP has been consistent. His VP probably will want a national ban.
Definitely.
He thinks that children must be born, and so. And that he said older women that are in menopause, their job is to take care of their grandchildren. That's their job.
I've heard that. And the craziest thing, like I said, if he believes that, that's fine. He can believe that all day, all night, any day, any night. But you shouldn't put your belief on me. That's the whole thing. That's the whole key to any of the reproductive freedom, any of it. You're talking about, like I said, IVF. If you don't believe that having a child through medical intervention is the right way to do it, it's against God, whatever your reason, don't do it. but let me have my peace and be able to do it. Like,
Guess
that's just the
what?
way I
You
feel.
don't have to. And if you forcing
Exactly.
it in any way, you are the Handmaid's Tale. You really are.
Yes.
Y'all should go watch that series.
Yes,
It's
I
really
love that
scary
series.
how similar
Oh
it
my
is to
goodness, I
us.
used to love it. I
Yeah,
love that.
it's
But I
very
mean,
similar.
but that's what I would like for our audience to take a quick peek at, and just recognize that neither candidate is fully pro-life. They're both saying that they believe in abortion. And to me, regardless of what your reasoning is, if you believe in abortion, you believe in abortion. Full stop. Like, you don't believe it's murder if you're saying there's exceptions. So
Right. You realize that life is not so cut and dry.
yep,
I personally,
exactly.
I got pregnant at a young age, and I considered it because I was young, but I was too
Hmm.
scared. So I didn't. So I have my oldest son. Hi, I have him. And so
Oh,
that was my thing. And so I'm always going to be, in my head, I'm pro-life. In my head, in my heart, I'm pro-life.
yes.
But
And
you
so
do you. I'm
wait, I
also
was gonna say,
against
so
sex
wait,
before marriage.
the funniest story. Okay, so Cindy's my oldest son's godmother, right? And I was pregnant and didn't know I was pregnant until I think you told me that I was
Until I
pregnant.
told him.
Yeah, she was like, "You're pregnant." And then when I finally did confirm that I was pregnant, I was like, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" I'm sleeping at my desk, which I shouldn't have been, but I'm sleeping at my desk because I'm pregnant. I'm tired, and something, I don't know how the conversation happened, but I was like, "I'm looking for a sign from God to see what I'm gonna do," because I was
Ay, Dios
considering
mío, mira que tiene una
considering
cosa.
I was considering having an abortion with men, and he knows this. Everybody knows this. Like, I'm an open book with my life. So I was considering that, and I said, I'm just waiting for a sign from God. I'm all laying there half asleep. She's like, if you're waiting for a sign from God to tell you to get rid of a baby, then you, and she's walking away just bloop, 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 bloop. And I'm half asleep. Remember, I'm half asleep, and I like open my eyes, lift my head up from the desk, and she's gone. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Am I really waiting for a sign from him? And a few months later, there's man. So
Look, guys, I did her like this. I did that. How I do that, gotcha.
yeah, she was just
I
like
just
walking
started
and
shooting
talking.
at
And
her
I
and
hear her
left.
voice just like rambling, but I'm like, just think. I mean, but like you said in the beginning, God does give us free will. He gives us the free choices to make. So
You got
I
free
mean,
will.
you never know. Like, maybe that sign would have not come, but maybe that was the sign. That was the sign he gave me. You was you. That was like, that's the
Hey,
sign
hi,
you needed.
Nancy.
And
But
man was born.
it was like, first of all, we didn't know each other that long, so we should add that part in there. We probably knew
Yeah,
each other less than a year at that point. We worked together, and she
yeah,
just was sleeping, and Tiff had a washboard stomach, flat.
man.
So the first thing you could see
Not
was
like
this
that
little,
anymore. Gee.
oh, you looking good, girl.
Yeah.
So she had this little bulge, and I was like, And then by that point, I had 2 kids. So
Mm.
she was sleeping all the time, and she had this little bulge you could see. She told me she drank water. The first time I said it to her, she said,
Well,
"Oh, I drank water." Now,
I
looking
did.
back, that was a little forward of me, but Tiffany was just out. She was just
Well,
young, and she was just out there.
and
Young, just like young.
I appreciate forward, like I appreciate
Yeah,
the straightforward discussion
yeah.
and talk. Like, that's just what I
Yeah,
appreciate.
she was just like,
So
I'm just this. I was like, we'll see. I was like, she's like, I'm waiting for a sign. And I was like,
mm,
girl, you waiting, I'm walking. And I
yeah.
was really big at that point. You
Oh my
waiting for a
goodness.
sign from God? You just might as well
Mm,
keep on waiting. And I'm just
yeah.
going. Like
And,
I didn't
and I
even
and I
realize it was
waited.
something.
Look, I waited. And it never came. But yeah, so I mean, and like I said, each person has their journey. Each person has their own relationship with God and with what they should and shouldn't do with their body. And I believe that that's something that a woman should have the right to make a choice on, and for a variety of reasons. Like I said,
Yeah.
you can not want your baby, or you could want your baby and the baby's not viable, or you can want to conceive a baby in a whole different format or manner. So you should have those options. So, and like we said, the key point of it is both candidates are pro-choice.
Yeah.
Just so you say, so
Just
you know.
like just like Wall said, I mean, the doctor's room is too crowded for the
Yeah.
Congress. for Congress, your state, the president, for everybody to be in there with you and your doctor looking all over you, examining you. This just y'all
Yes.
two in the room and your husband or whoever it is that you want in your life. That's
Man. Well, that's it, guys. I mean, we're gonna still bring you these hot button topics for what the candidates are presenting, and hopefully they'll be debating about that. I'm curious to hear what either one of them have to say about that topic, especially since they kind of like, along the same pro-choice lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, as always, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye,
See you
guys.
guys. Bye-bye.